Welcome, everybody. I am Jim Schmerling, the President and CEO of Connecticut Children's, and we are the only independent children's hospital in the state that solely focused on kids. And so that comes with a great deal of responsibility. And in addition to some of the things that you're most familiar with in terms of the clinical services that we provide, it's also important to know that we want to take care of children and keep them healthy, help them develop well, have healthy brains, build vocabulary, all the things that reading and literacy does for us. As parents, as hospital employees, as physicians, we want children to be healthy. Just like at home when you're told brush your teeth, it's good for you. But we think reading and literacy is also very good for you, and it is fun. You can learn new words, you learn about the world. It opens up all kinds of new avenues. One of the reasons that we partnered with the United Way of Central Northeastern Connecticut, St. Francis Hospital, and Hartford Hospital was to launch a program called the Imagination Library, which puts books in the hands of children from birth all the way through the age of 5, so that by the time a child reaches their 5th birthday, they have a library of 60 books. All of that is free. The hospitals and United Way are all raising money to make that happen. And we hope that every child from 0 to 5 in Hartford, Connecticut will be a recipient of one of these books. Now, with the holiday season approaching, Connecticut Children's team members and our other local partners like to celebrate. We like to celebrate reading and have a little bit of fun and have a safe and physically distanced manner. Of course, that's why we're all on Zoom this morning. And so for those of you celebrating Hanukkah, I want to wish you a happy Hanukkah as we're heading into the second night. I lit candles last night. I'm celebrating Hanukkah and celebrating with my kids who are scattered in 4 states through Zoom. So we're all using Zoom to communicate with one another. Please know that today we're recording today's session and sharing it on social media, as well as on our, our Get Well network, which is our in-house television network that we use in all of our hospital patient rooms. So if you enjoy today's discussion and want to talk or watch this again, please share it with a friend. We're inviting anyone who's interested to participate. And so with that, I'm very excited to introduce to you a local author, Alan Katz. I had the privilege of reading one of your books last night. And
I appreciate that.
And it was delightful. And I've got 8 grandchildren, and each is getting a copy of that book and maybe some others.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you.
I've also invited them into this to this session this morning, so I don't know if they're tuned in or not, but as it's recorded, I'm going to encourage them to participate. So I want to pause and allow Alan to have a chance to introduce himself. And before we get started into the books, Alan, if I could just ask you a couple of questions to get us going.
Sure.
First of all, your books are silly. What led you to write books for kids and be so funny?
Well, thank you for saying they're silly. I like to make people laugh. Listen, there's nothing better than laughter. At the hospital, you know what the good medicines are, but they also say that laughter is the best medicine. I don't know if it's the best, but it's definitely one that people should enjoy. I have been a writer my entire career. And one of the points I want to make right away is you don't become a writer like you become an astronaut or like you become a doctor or a nurse where you have special training. Once someone tells you the 26 letters of the alphabet, and once somebody hands you something to write in and something to write with, you're automatically a writer. I do nothing different than everybody watching does every day. We are all writers. We all use the same 26 letters. We all have stories to tell. I have never had a job that didn't involve writing. And my friends who are watching, I don't know what you want to be when you grow up. You may have decided already. You may not have decided. But I promise you it's going to include reading and writing. And the better you do it today, the better you'll do it tomorrow, the better you'll do it your whole life. So I have written for television. Some of you will remember the Rosie O'Donnell show. Rosie had a show kind of like Ellen DeGeneres has now, where she had guests and played games and sang songs. In 5 years, I wrote over 1,000 funny songs for the show. And my daughter, who was 8 years old then, and she's now, it's 20 years later, I'm proud to say she's now a speech pathologist helping kids be better readers and writers, which I just adore. She said at dinner one night, she said, "Dad, how come you don't write songs for kids?" I said, you know, I can do that, Simone. And I wrote a book called Take Me Out of the Bathtub and Other Silly Dilly Songs. What I did is I took songs everybody knows and I rewrote the words. So Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star became Stinky, Stinky Diaper Change, for example. And our friend Emily, I think you have a picture of me reading Take Me Out of the Bathtub, a color picture of me reading Take Me Out of the Bathtub from a while back.
I do.
If you could show that, I appreciate it.
Oh, from a while back. Well, this is
No, there I am singing Take Me Out of the Bathtub. Now, that is not the first picture of me ever taken, where it's Alan Katz singing Take Me Out of the Bathtub. Emily, if you have the black and white picture, this is one I found in a photo album.
Let me pull that up right now.
All right, thank you. Emily is our photography expert.
Mhm.
There I am a little while ago saying, Take Me Out of the Bathtub. Can you tell that to me? So I guess I've always been meant to sing Take Me Out of the Bathtub. Well, it's probably a good time. Actually, I'll sing Stinky, Stinky Diaper Change. And you'll get the idea. What I do is I count the number of syllables, the number of sounds in each word. So for example, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Let's see, that's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, 7 syllables. Now I could have written, I would like some chocolate pie. That would fit. Or I could have written, I am a really big fan, which I am of the Mets. You can tell from the orange pajamas. But I wrote, and I'll show you here, Stinky, Stinky Diaper Change. Boy, my brother smells so strange. He made something in his pants. Sure hope it won't attract ants. Stinky, Stinky Diaper Change. Boy, my brother smells so strange. It's okay, don't hold your nose. Now he's clean and in fresh clothes. All his stuff is often stained. Can't wait till he's potty trained. He's so cute in his playpen. What's that smell? Oh, not again. So that happens with babies, and they grow up. And so that's the long answer to how I became a writer. I was a writer my whole life. I wrote for the Rosie O'Donnell show, and that led to books.
So if we have any children that are listening right now who want to be authors, what advice would you give them?
Well, you know what? Not that they want to be authors, they are authors. Anybody who can put words on a piece of paper or tell words to an adult who can then put them on a piece of paper is an author. Emily, do you have a picture of my report card? I'd like to show. When I found that picture of me in the bathtub, I also found something else, and it's the very coolest thing I own. It really is. This is my 3rd grade report card, and I know it's a little hard to read, but I put the arrows there because my teacher in 3rd grade, oh, thank you, wrote, Alan must work toward expressing his written ideas more creatively. And I said, that was 3rd grade, and I said, Mrs. Bailowitz, who's a wonderful teacher, all teachers are wonderful. I said, Mrs. Bailowitz, I do want to be a better writer. I do want to be the best writer I can be. And she said, then start writing. And I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And actually in my poetry book, and we'll talk about poetry in a little while, I reprinted that report card. And I also printed the very first thing that my parents saved. It's a parody of Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, you know the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, where Jack trades the cow for beans and plants the beans and gets a whole adventure on a beanstalk. Well, my parody of Jack and the Beanstalk, guess what? There's no beanstalk. He trades the cow for beans, then he trades the beans for what he really wanted, which is what I really wanted back in 3rd grade, a color TV. And when he gets home, his mother's mad. She says, you can't eat a color TV. And Jack says, no, but you can't watch vegetables. Well, Jack was sent to his room for 3 weeks, but he didn't mind because the color TV was in there. Now, it was funny at the time. It was what I was trying to do to be humorous, but it was writing. Writers write. I don't care if you write a poem, a sentence, fill this book. I have one of these books next to my bed. I have one in my car. If I'm waiting for my son at swim practice, he's a champion, the national champion swimmer. If I'm sitting in the car, I can sit there and I can go do, 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 or I can be a writer. I always choose to be a writer. Now, I just want to say one thing, Jim, and then I know you have more questions. When it comes to writing humor, now you may want to write humor. My friends who are watching, you may want to write serious. You may want to write about places you've gone. You may want to write a memoir about your life. I have one rule about writing humor, and it's the most important rule as a writer, and it's the most important rule as a person to me. I love to make people laugh, but I will never, never, underline it, never make a joke that hurts somebody else's feelings. To me, it is never okay when I watch Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or Disney Plus or anything on TV, and maybe there are 3 kids having lunch and somebody else walks in with his or her tray and they say, oh, I thought I smelled something, or something like that. It's unkind, it's uncalled for, it's not appropriate. If you think of something to say and you think about it and say, oh, that wouldn't be kind, don't say it. Laughter feels really nice. I love to make people laugh. But you know what feels even better? Kindness. So that's my message to everybody. Be a writer and be kind.
That's wonderful advice. Let me switch gears from writing to reading. Why do you think it's so important for children to read?
Listen, reading has been, when I'm not writing, I'm reading. It's been my favorite activity since somebody first handed me a library card. And by the way, a library card is the coolest thing you can own. You can't walk into a restaurant and say, can I borrow a hamburger? And they give you a hamburger for 3 weeks. You can't walk into a clothing store and say, let me borrow some pants. You can't do that. But look, you go to the library, there are books about every possible topic, and they lend them to you, and you take good care of them and you read them, and then you bring them back and you find other books to read. You know, by the way, if you find a book you like, doesn't have to be one of my books. If you find a book you like, tell your friends about it. Don't keep it a secret. If you like sports, chances are your friend's going to like the book that you just read and liked. Libraries are the very best thing. When you say I have nothing to do, look around, find a book. You have plenty to do. Books can take you on adventures. They can tell you about presidents or animals, or as I said, sports. I'm a big sports fan. Let's go Mets. Books are the window to the world. They really are.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So I think we want you, if you wouldn't mind showing us a few of your books.
Well, sure. I
Maybe
showed you
reading and
Take Me
singing
Out.
for us.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't bring my good singing voice. Somehow I don't sing well in pajamas, but I don't sing well when I'm not wearing pajamas. So I read Take Me Out of the Bathtub. I read the song from that. Probably appropriate. There are 9 what I call silly dilly song books in all. There's one about manners. There's one about potty training. There's one for the holidays called Where Did They Hide My Presents? And to the tune of Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, I will sing, it's the moment we've all been waiting. Yes, it's time for decorating. Baby sister Sue squeals with glee. Twim the twee, twim the twee, twim the twee. Grab the ornaments, let's unpack them. And please don't let sister crack them. Gotta handle this carefully. Twim the twee, twim the twee, twim the twee. Hanging balls, bells, and popcorn strands. It's a job for big folks, not for Sue. 2-year-olds have such tiny hands. There's nothing that babies can do. As we stand back to admire, Sue hangs up her pacifier. It completes the job beautifully. Everybody, twim the twee, twim the twee, twim the twee. Now that's just one song in the book, but you know what? Maybe you can write a parody song. As long as you do it with kindness, count the number of syllables in each line, and tell a story. I have songs, as I said, about potty training. I have songs about being polite, songs about parents. You can write a song, maybe write a song as a holiday gift to someone in the family. Definitely, definitely. I also mentioned before my book, Oops, I had never written poetry. Jim, you might find that hard to believe. My wife is a very gifted, serious poet, a wonderful poet, and I never spent any time with poetry. And after writing a few of the songbooks, the people at the book company, the editors said, how about writing some poems? And I said, I don't think I can. And they said, well, you can try. And I said, all right, I'll try. And I wrote 5 poems. And I said, hey, I like this. And they said, we like them. And they made it a book. It's illustrated by the wonderful Edward Corrin, who has done a lot of cartoons over the years for the New York Times and the New Yorker magazine. He's over 85 years old. And you might find it interesting that even though the book is this big to hold in your hands, he does the pictures about 3 feet big because his eyesight isn't so good anymore. Oh. And then they shrink them down on a scanner to book size. And we did 2 books together. Now, not all poetry rhymes. Not all poetry is funny, but I like writing funny, rhyming poetry. My favorite poem in the book is the silliest, shortest poem you're ever going to hear. It has 2 words and one of them repeats a lot. Listen to my poem called The Lollipop. Here we go, The Lollipop. Lick, 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 lick. Lick, 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 stick. After all those licks, what do you have left? Just a stick. Now, I visit about 50 schools a year when schools are in session. And so often kids hear that poem and say, wait, I can write a poem. You just gave me an idea for a poem. And they email them to me or they write them right when I'm in the school. So many have written the ice cream cone. Lick, 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 plop. The cone falls off. I love that because we inspire each other. My hope is that when this presentation is done, somebody says, oh, I got an idea. Let me write something. Because we inspire each other. Other writers inspire me. Do you want me to keep going?
Oh, please. Yeah.
All right. I got a lot to say. I did 2 books. I've done over 50 books. And the only 2, and I have one of them here, that are not meant to be fully humorous is Awesome Achievers in Science. And I also did Awesome Achievers in Technology. And they're 2 books that tell you 12 nonfiction stories about actual people who have invented things that kids use every day, like the seatbelt, the remote control, the microwave oven. And after you learn the fascinating stories of these real life heroes, there's some humor about how their invention helps my life. Not making fun of them in any way. But for example, the microwave saves me so much time. Here's all the things I can do because I don't have to wait 20 minutes for a bowl of soup to heat up. I can do it right away in the microwave in a minute. So those were 2 books, Awesome Achievers in Science and Awesome Achievers in Technology. By the way, they drew me into this book. Does that look like me?
Look at that.
I like that. A note from Alan Katz. I have 3 new books that came out in October that I'm really quite proud of. I love reading biographies. One of the things I like most is finding out about fascinating people. And I thought, well, what if the biography that I'm writing isn't really everything that happened to them? And then I thought, well, what if the biography that I read had no facts in it at all? And that led me to come up with a series called Lyographies, the absolutely untrue, totally made up, 100% fake life story of the world's greatest heroes. Babe Ruth, Amelia Earhart, Thomas Edison. There's about 64 pages in the book, not a shred of truth in the whole book. I made up everything. These are the things that definitely did not happen to these people. Babe Ruth is still a ball player. Edison is still an inventor. Amelia Earhart is still a flyer. But I made up everything that happened to them. It's meant to make you laugh until your head falls off. Then you can put your head back on. And there's about 5 pages at the end of the book that tell you what really did happen. So hopefully you'll go read more. So you'll laugh, 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 learn, 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 and then go find out more about these people. For example, mentioning a hospital, I talk about how Babe Ruth would often visit kids in the hospital. And while there, he would often do unnecessary surgery on them, removing a kidney or a spleen for no good reason. And then because he was a generous guy, he would pay a real doctor to put it back. And a reporter once said, Babe, isn't it hard removing a kidney without any medical training? And Babe said, no. Hitting a fastball is hard. Removing a kidney is a piece of cake. And for good measure, he removed the reporter's kidney and had a piece of cake. Just silliness. Hopefully, kids are laughing, laughing, laughing. And then they're doing compare and contrast posters where they're saying, Mr. Katz said this about Thomas Edison, but the truth is he really did this. I talk about Edison's first invention being 3 sticks that he tied together with a piece of string. And he would sit on the hill near the train station every day at the same time. And when he pulled on the left stick, the train would come. And when he pulled on the middle stick, people would get off the train. And when he pulled on the right stick, the train would leave. Nobody ever told him that the sticks had nothing to do. The train was going to be coming anyway. But he believed that he invented the train. Just being silly. So I like that. Speaking of silliness, another new book that came out in October. I love short stories. You can read 1 short story a night for 20 nights, or you can read a whole book in one big gulp. This is called Really Stupid Stories for Really Smart Kids. They are short stories that are guaranteed to make you laugh. Excuse me. One teacher wrote to me last week and said, my son is reading the book every night and it gives him the hiccups. That's how much he's laughing. And I thought, well, I guess that's good. I don't know. But there's stories about the day it snowed snowmen. Think about that. My imagination takes me to exaggerate things. Everybody knows when it snows. You've seen it snow a lot. But have you ever thought about a day that it might snow snowmen? So there's a story in there. There's a story about a school not having a spelling bee, but having a smelling bee, where kids have to smell things and say what they are. Again, a little bit unusual, but hopefully it will make you laugh. So that's that.
You know, I read, the book I read last night was If I Didn't Have You, which
Yes.
is, what I loved about this was that it was funny, the cartoon, it was a sort of cartoon format, but the message was really terrific in terms of the relationships between a child and their dad, and what I might have if I didn't have you, but I'd rather have you. I thought it was terrific, and it did make me think. It made me laugh. It also made me think, and I'm curious, what was the inspiration for that? And I don't know if it's in one of the books that you have this morning, but
I don't have it.
It's also funny.
I appreciate that. I don't have it in front of me. I could run upstairs for it, but then I wouldn't be here. No. Out of the 50 books I've written, I have 4 kids, 4 incredible kids. I mentioned my daughter's a speech pathologist. I have twin sons who are in college, and I have a son who works in Washington, D.C. with Senator Chris Murphy, actually. I have written, out of the 50 books, I've probably written 47 of them as a result of something my kids did, something my kids said. When I say you can write about your family, you can write about your pets, you can write about places you go, very often, what writers do is we observe things and then I write them down. And one night, my son Andrew said, can I stay up till midnight? And I said, no, it's a school night. And he said, well, I could stay up till midnight if I didn't have you. And I said, well, yes. And I could use your room as an office if I didn't have you. And we started very good-natured kidding each other. And that led me to believe that there was a book in that idea. By the same token, I have a book called Don't Say That Word, a picture book illustrated by David Catro, who's done the 9 Silly Dilly songbooks. Andrew, for a while, again, it was Andrew, used to use potty words a lot. And there's no place for that in general conversation, to say a potty word. And I thought to myself, boy, I wish there were a book that would teach him the words he shouldn't use. And you know what? Writers often say, if there isn't a book that does what you want a book to do, then write it. Yeah. So I sat down and I said, I'm going to write that book. And I have a book called Don't Say That Word, where Michael's mom says, what happened in school today? And in 4 lines of verse on each page, he tells her. But just as he gets to the last word, it's a word he shouldn't say. It's a potty word. And you'll know what word it is because it rhymes with the last word of the second line. For example, in art, everybody got inky, but Mom, that was only the start. Because Richie then made the room stinky by blasting a really big, and before he can say that word, Mom says, don't say that word. Well, I can read that in front of 500 kids at a school. Nobody says the words. They rhyme. They show me how smart they are by rhyming. They laugh, but we all say, don't say that word. And after not saying words like that one, at the end of the book, Mom says, well, today was a sea of great dramas. I hope there are calm days ahead. Run along, put on your pajamas. It's late and you should be in. And before she can say the final word, he says, don't say that word. So it's a good give and take. Hopefully it'll make you laugh. There isn't a bad word in the whole book. And I thought of that because I had a son who was using potty language. It's very often how I come up with my book ideas.
If you have any questions for Alan, please go ahead and type those into the Q&A box. And Evan will go through those and read them off to you, Alan, and we'll take it from there. Evan, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. This is fantastic. I just wanted to mention, I love that be a writer and be kind. I just love that message. It's such a great, simple, to the point, Be a writer and be kind, because you don't have to be a writer, but be kind. One of the two, both, whatever you choose.
I say both.
Both, why not both?
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
it. We have some great questions here. We have a lot of people. I know Hannah Olson responded that she loved the lollipop rhyme, the lollipop poem. I thought that was fantastic too. I got a good chuckle out of me from that. I was muted, but I chuckled. So we have someone asked, Ava asked, where can you get your books?
Well, the library, to be sure. I mentioned the library. But, you know, bookstores or anywhere you would buy books is a good place to, you know, if they don't have them in stock. Like right now, the Lyographies and Really Stupid Stories for Really Smart Kids are at most Barnes and Nobles, and certainly Amazon has them and everything. But anywhere you buy books, you'll be able to find them.
Awesome. The how many wonderful books do you have was asked by a third grader, which I thought was.
Well, I've written about 50. I have 3 new books, actually 4 new books coming out next year. One is called The Society of Superheroes, a Society of Substitutes. It's about a teacher who not only has a second grader in a class where she's frequently a substitute teacher, but she also happens to be a superhero who saves the world repeatedly with her son's help, saves the world from the classroom ferret who wants to take over the world. So there'll be 2 coming out on January 5th and then 1 every 3 months after that. So that's in the 50. Yeah.
Awesome. And now the question was, how many are wonderful?
How many are wonderful? About 9.
9. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So
By the way, I have a question for you, Evan.
Please.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Owls.
Owls who?
Yes, they do.
Walked right into that. That was father of 3. I should know a dad joke when I see it.
All right, one more. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe who?
No, Europe who.
Ken.
That's
Walked
the
right
whole
into
act.
that.
All right, you have more questions. I'm sorry.
No. That's insulting each other through knock knock jokes is fantastic.
There's no insulting.
Let's see here. We have a lot of comments. They love the words. They love what you're doing there. We have a lot of people interested in your books. Do you have an idea for your next book? I love that question.
Yes, I I finished a book yesterday, a picture book. And by the way, I should tell you that I don't get to pick the illustrators of my book. The editors at the book company match me up with just the right person.
Oh, awesome.
And I have a book that's coming out. I finished it last year, and it's coming out summer of 2022. It's being illustrated right now. And it's called Got Your Nose. Anybody ever play Got Your Nose with you, where you go like this and they say, got your nose? Anybody ever do that?
Right now, I don't know if you know that.
Well, this is the story.
Collection.
This is the story of a grandpa who's a very loving grandpa. And he says to his granddaughter, Becky, before I go, got your nose. And he puts it in his pocket, and she laughs and he laughs, and he leaves. And she realizes a few minutes later, he really did take her nose. And she's walking down the street, and the nose is sneezing, and people are saying, bless you. And he's like, I didn't sneeze. And then the nose runs away, because after all, noses run. And she has to find him, and together they have to find the nose. So it's a romp through the streets of town, and they ultimately find, I shouldn't tell you the ending, but they find the nose in the flower shop, because noses like to smell flowers. And she pops it back on, which you really can't do in real life, but this is a book. And he says, I'm so sorry I did that, my dear. And she said, oh, Grandpa, I had fun. And he said, oh, I had the most fun I've ever had. And she says, in that case, and on the last page, she says, yes. And she says, got your ear. So there we go again. I finished a book yesterday about a toddler in the petting zoo, kind of learning all the animals. Will that be a book? I don't know, but I'm sure enjoying writing it.
Awesome. Let's see. And then just writing something you thought of. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Do you, what is your favorite author? Who is your favorite? It says, what is your favorite? Who is your favorite author? And
my favorite author is one of my best friends, and he's someone who my kids grew up reading and loving, and that's Dan Gutman. He writes the My Weird School books. He writes the baseball card adventures like Hannes and Me and Babe and Me. He is both a wonderful writer and a wonderful person. And if you're looking to laugh and you find the My Weird School books, there's probably 50 of them, and they're awesome.
Awesome. No competition. That's right. 50 and 50. Are you?
You know what? Everybody who writes has their own place to write. And you know what? You may write something and never get it published, but if you can hold it in your hand and say to an adult or say to a friend, here, read this, I wrote that. That's being an author. You don't have to have a published book that you go to the bookstore or go to the library and buy to be an author. Remember that. Everybody watching is already an author.
Do you use your computer to write to write your books? Or
I
do you
often write on the
by hand?
computer, very often on the computer. But you know what? I wrote a book once sitting, and I'm not recommending you go to McDonald's, but I wrote a book sitting in a McDonald's while waiting for my daughter at a camp reunion. And I wrote a pop-up book called Karate Pig, in which Karate Pig chops everything in half. I thought of the book and I wrote it. And when I picked her up, I said, look, I just wrote this. That's what can happen. You know, the best words you can say to yourself is, I have an idea. And these tools are all you need. They're all you need.
Awesome. What's your favorite book all time?
Of mine or in general?
Of yours?
I guess it's Take Me Out of the Bathtub. It'll be 20 years old in May.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we just did a musical. When I say just, it was September of 2019 through January of 2020 at the Stepping Stones Museum for Children in Norwalk. We did a musical of the songs, kind of an American Idol-like search for the silly dilly of song in America. And my son David, who is a musical performer, a musical theater major at the Hart School in Hartford, actually, was in it. And it was very, very wonderful. It was nice to see the songs living on stage.
Yes, and especially with your son, that's fantastic.
Yes.
What is your favorite book? Any book?
My favorite book is my blank book. It really is. And you know what? Maybe that's not what you had in mind, but I'm going to fill this book. I filled 60 of them last year. Because anywhere you are, like I said, I'm going to say it again. You can write, even if you write, I can't think of anything to write, and turn that into a poem. That's writing. The more you write, the better you write. The more you read, the better you read. The more you read, the better you write. The more you write, the better you read. It's very hard to say, but it's possible.
And as a PSA out there for kids that are watching this, and as a parent myself, please don't write on your parents' walls. Please find something proper to write on with a proper, maybe a crayon or a pencil and piece of paper. Not on the walls, please, if my kids are watching at home.
Right. My son once said to me, and it's an old joke, but he said, I wrote something really funny on the bus. And I said, you go back there and erase it.
Do you?
That is excellent. Alan, thank you so much. The Q&A, I know we wish we had, we could keep doing this for the rest of the day, but we're coming to the end of our program. So I just wanted to say thank you to Evan so much for moderating our question and answer section. Of course, for Alan for spending your time, and for Jim Schmerling for being here as well. We're so grateful for everyone's participation. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Jim, if you wanted to maybe share some parting words for all the kids that we have listening and for Alan.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm looking at my computer screen and there are 78 more questions. So Alan, we're going to have to do this again so we can get all the questions.
That would be fine. Although I can just give you a few answers. How are these answers? 71, a box of fish, and no. And you can just match those to the questions.
Love it. I think that's, we're going to put that in our book and that will be a next story.
Fine.
That's a very good start. We have a room in the hospital called the Family Resource Center, and I'm thinking we probably need a section of that for Alan Katz books so we can have a collection for kids. There is no better medicine than laughter. And I think what you provided us this morning is some terrific medicine. It's painless. In fact, it feels good and it does great things. And in fact, if there was such a thing as an honorary medical degree, you'd be our first recipient.
Wow. Thank you.
You're just terrific. You're doing great work. And
well, thank you. I don't know if I get a last word or not. I know it's not like a court
please,
trial.
absolutely.
But I just want to say thank you to Emily, to Evan, and to you, Jim, and to Amy who set this up to begin with. What a joy. What a joy to meet readers and writers and kids who love books. I wish you all good health. I wish you all happy holidays and safe holidays. And remember, there's no better thing to do than reading, except reading with a mask on when you're in public. Be safe at all times.